We're always so excited to introduce you to new people to the community, and we're introducing you to one very special artist. That's Doug Behm. He's a new artist up at the C. Anthony Gallery, and we're really excited to showcase some of his beautiful pieces. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us this morning.
Thank you.
Now, you've been an artist all your life. You've always worked in the creative field, but you really have followed your passion recently.
That's true. I've always been in art. It's part of my history of my life. My great aunt was a famous artist, and my father, who obviously realized that, embraced that, and allowed me to kind of pursue it through my childhood and growing up, and then I went to fine art school and a commercial art school, and I decided to go into advertising, which allowed me to kind of still be very creative and do a lot of quick turn kind of ideas. I drew a lot. And so I did that for many, many years, for about almost 40 years. And then I decided, once I was done, to start pursuing oil painting. And so I just threw myself back into that. And wildlife has always been something I've been passionate about, as far as drawing, capturing, and I just find the souls of animals is very interesting.
And your pieces are so beautiful. They're so exquisitely detailed. So you've got a wolf right behind you and a bear right behind you, and you really paint in this realistic format.
I do. I try to capture the personalities and the life of them. I obviously try to figure out kind of settings and scenarios that would be kind of capture them in more of a realistic environment as well. And like I said, the eyes of most creatures are where you can really kind of connect to. So it's something I've always been passionate about. Right, very early on, when I was like 8 years old, my first, I guess, art fair competition, local art fair, I drew mostly wildlife. I drew, lions and owls and impalas, and I won some awards for that. So it's always been kind of part of what I like to capture.
Which I think is so wonderful, because we live in such a place to do so. We're surrounded by so many of these incredible animals. Now let's talk a little bit about your process, because are you using oil? Is it on canvas?
I do primarily work in oils. It's actually a water mixable oil by Winsor Newton. I do that just to kind of minimize the smell, because I started in my home, and I still am working out of my home. This is more of a home studio. So I don't want the kind of, the aromas and the odors of turpentine and other things like that. But I find that, and I explored the types of water mixable oils, and Winsor Newton was really the best. And so I stuck with that, and it's all done on canvas.
Which is incredible. So as you're going through, do you do the background first and then you paint the animals as you've kind of decided what you're going to do as that background?
Yeah, it's, my process is, once I decide on what I want to paint and what subject, I do a lot. I actually sit and think about the design of it, the layout, and then I think about the tones and textures and the story itself of what's going on. So like in the wolf, I wanted a winter wolf kind of the scene, and I like the monochromatic nature of winter, because obviously all of the colors kind of start to fade away in the whites of the snow, and so trying to capture that and giving that scenario is kind of what I wanted to kind of do for that subject matter. Unlike the bear, who in the woods in a dark and kind of, it's called the encounter, and I wanted to kind of capture that kind of moment of kind of this darker, kind of moodier, kind of interesting vibe with the aspens and a light kind of capturing that moment of like it, you guys connecting eyes, and in the woods it would be kind of truly an encounter that would be interesting.
It would definitely be interesting, quite scary as well. And that one is so fantastic. I was looking at it over your shoulder, and the way that the light captures on top of the bear, really bringing it to life, like you're in that moment. That sun is kind of coming through those aspens, but you are in the woods.
Right, and that's kind of what I wanted to capture as well. And that's that moment that, most people walking through the woods would never kind of, hopefully
Encounter.
never have that happen to them. But when it does, it would be that kind of moment of like meeting eyes, and then what do you do? But, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but just trying to capture that moment of that little encounter.
That wonder that comes with being in the woods, because we all think it. No one goes hiking and is like, oh, there's nothing out here. We live in the
Right.
mountains. You're a Colorado native, so you live up in these mountains too. You understand that it is possible for this encounter to happen at any given time. Now, you do these hyper-realistic paintings that are absolutely fabulous. They're so well done, they're beautiful, they're detailed, but then you have this kind of contemporary style that's spectacular too.
Yeah, I mean, I've really been focusing on oil painting for the past few years, and so I try to challenge myself. I want to explore different ways to kind of express an image or things like that. I'm trying this, and I've been doing this other besides the more the realistic area, a little more of what I call blur, and it's basically painting it in a very subject matter in a monochromatic way, still detailed, but at the end, I actually go over it and brush with a large brush, and I blur the whole image. So it gives it a kind of a little more of a what I call a experience when like you want to focus on something, you want to capture the focus and the details, because that's what human nature is and humans do. And the experience is kind of compelling, and I kind of like it for that reason. And I think that when you see them in person, they become even more interesting and more compelling.
I love it, because I love to see all of the work that C. Anthony Gallery collects. Now, you're going to be on exhibition there, so people can come, they can meet you, they can experience your work, and they can see all of the beautiful details of your pieces for themselves. So when can they expect to see you up there?
Yeah, I'm very excited for this. I mean, I really appreciate C. Anthony and the opportunity to have this show for the 17th and 18th, and I'm excited for people to come out and take a look, ask questions, really kind of connect to my pieces, and hopefully they really enjoy it.
I mean, you have pieces for everyone. That blurred effect is such a unique way to look at that art, and knowing that it starts in this very in-depth way with all the detailing, and then of course to have the more realistic pieces that so many people are drawn to, because that wildlife aspect here is something that we do encounter regularly and we do get to see. So if people are making their way up to C. Anthony Gallery, it is January 7th and 18th, and what time will you be there?
I think it's the show will start around 4, from 4 to 8. So I should be there. I'll probably be there a little earlier, obviously, and hopefully I can see everybody and talk to everybody when they stop by and they enjoy it.
And fall in love with your pieces, and then they can have a Doug Behm piece of their own to take home, to collect, and to just get to worship all the time.
That would be very nice. And a lot of times I do think about how something I create and paint hangs on a wall in a home or an office or wherever, and I just imagine it being there, and just hopefully people really enjoy and fall in love with the work. I fall in love with it as I paint it. So I hope they appreciate it.
Doug, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, giving us all this information, and thanks for sharing these tidbits of what you're in love with in each and every painting, because it's such a wonderful experience as the viewer of your work to get to find those details and fall in love yourself.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Maddie. I look forward to seeing everybody 17th and 18th.
Yes, we can't wait. Make sure that you make your way up to the C. Anthony Gallery the 17th and 18th. That's a Friday and Saturday. That way you have the opportunity to meet Doug Behm himself, see his new works, learn about his paintings, and see the entire expedition. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show, so don't go anywhere.